Hello, I'm Jonathan Brumley, and today we're talking about deployment of a triple layer load. Now, the triple layer has been around for several decades and has seen widespread usage across the country. The purpose in creating the load was to speed up deployments of a hand line when compared to hand lines that were simply just flat loaded. Let's take a look at how these are deployed.
Traditionally, the line is deployed by a single firefighter who starts by taking the nozzle in a loop that's through the bale. The line pays off the top of the load, and he advances until all of the hose has cleared the bed.
Ideally, this line is pulled in a straight line pull away from the hose bed. Now, if we were using a 200-foot attack line, that would mean we would need 66 feet of space in line with our engine. Now, unfortunately, that's not the case on every fire ground that we go to. It's not uncommon to see this line pulled away from the point of attack so that you can make room for the full deployment of the line, whether that's into the neighbor's yard, down the street, or around the side of the structure. With that being said, there are benefits to this line. However, it can be directionally challenged.
Unless the line is pulled in line with the hose bed, as we see in the center photo, the line will experience drag as it contacts various portions of the apparatus, like we see in the left and the right photos. The left photo being the apparatus cab, and the right photo showing the hose divider being a source of drag. Additionally, things like discharge elbows, foldable steps, and apparatus handles have all been sources of drag on the hose, sometimes halting the deployment altogether.
Many departments use the best practice of having the first-in engine pull past the structure that's on fire. This leaves plenty of room for the aerial apparatus that may be coming, and it also potentially gives an additional view of the structure to the crews that are arriving as well. Now, this almost guarantees that the line being pulled isn't going to be done in line with the hose bed that it's coming off of. Now, a few simple modifications to the load will help keep the apparatus from becoming a part of what's bogging down our hose deployments.
First, when building the load, a tail is left on the end of the sections that are being tripled. The length of this tail will vary based on the apparatus that the load is going on. The tail must reach from the ground to the discharge where the line will be connected. The tail is flat loaded underneath the triple layer. Next, when loading the hose, pull loops are added to the bottommost layer of the hose that has been tripled. It should be noted that only one loop is required for those hose beds that are single stacked. Remember that these loops need to be big enough to accommodate a gloved hand.
Once the hose is loaded with these modifications, the hose bed will look nearly identical to what the traditional method of loading looks like as well. In fact, the hose can be deployed as traditionally taught as well. However, the benefits are realized when the firefighter begins deployment with the pull loops instead of the nozzle.
The firefighter begins deployment by grabbing the pull loops. Facing the engine, he continues backwards, holding the two loops together. The entire load will be brought to the ground next to the engine. Once it's on the ground, the firefighter will advance the nozzle and the loop to the point of attack.
This modified method of deployment will help keep the apparatus from becoming an obstacle. For apparatus with high hose beds, this could be the difference. And simply by deploying the loops instead of going for the nozzle, it could allow the nozzle firefighter to remain on the ground and not have to step up onto the apparatus in order to deploy this hose line. Care should always be taken to protect the nozzle during this process. Simply by keeping the loops together and parallel to the ground as it's pulled out of the hose bed should allow that nozzle to ride the load all the way to the ground and keep it from falling off and causing damage that would be detrimental to any resulting fire stream. If for some reason it's not possible to keep the load parallel as it's pulled out of the hose bed, the firefighter can modify it just slightly and put one arm through both loops and the other arm reach up and grab the nozzle. Getting hose lines into place quickly is paramount to fireground success. Making these simple modifications to the triple layer load will result in smoother stretches. Friction will be reduced, hose beds will always be cleared, and the line will no longer have the same directional restrictions.